Welcome back to Stoic Talks. Let me ask you something. Why aren't you seeing your own worth? Why do you think being there at their beck and call will somehow make them miss you? Why do you believe that constantly showing up, bending over backwards, and sacrificing your peace will finally get them to see your value? Now don't tell me I'm not doing that, because from where I'm standing, you are doing it. You are making yourself too available, too accessible, too eager to please. And let's be real for a second. You're the only reason it's happening. Yes, folks, it's you. Your fear, your desperation, your constant need for validation. Let me ask you again. How many times are you going to put yourself in this position? How many times are you going to let someone treat you like an option, like a backup plan, like someone who will always be there when they feel like it? Are you in this world just to beg for someone's attention? Are you here just to chase after someone who can't even appreciate what you bring to the table? Because you love them? Because you think if you just try harder, they'll finally notice? How many sleepless nights are you going to spend replaying every conversation, hoping they'll send a message, hoping they'll come around? Stop. Stop telling yourself that if you give a little more, they'll change. Stop convincing yourself that you have to bend over backwards to be worthy of their time. Let me break it to you. If you really want them to notice you, if you really want them to see what they've lost, there's only one thing you need to do. Disappear. Vanish. Step out of their world completely. No warnings, no explanations, just silence. Because here's the harsh reality. They won't start missing you until you're no longer available. They won't appreciate you until they feel the emptiness your absence creates. And that's when the game changes. How long are you going to keep waiting for someone to wake up and see your worth? How long are you going to keep chasing after people who barely acknowledge your existence? If you truly want them to miss you, to realize what they had in you, it's time to walk away. Not gradually, not with a half-hearted attempt. No, you disappear. You reclaim your power, and you leave them to feel the void that only your absence can create. They won't admit it at first. No, they'll play it cool. They'll act like they're unfazed, like your disappearance hasn't rocked their world. But behind the facade, they're scrambling. They're replaying every interaction in their mind, every moment they ignored your efforts, every time they put you on the back burner, thinking you'd always be there. They'll start wondering if they made a mistake, if they've lost something valuable. And that's the beginning of the shift. Because here's the thing, they never thought you'd have the strength to walk away. They thought they had the upper hand, that they could keep you in their orbit forever, stringing you along whenever it suited them. But now you've flipped the script. Your absence throws them off balance, and it forces them to face a reality they've been avoiding. They took you for granted, and now you're gone. Disappearing isn't about ghosting or playing games. This is about reclaiming your power, about showing them that you're not someone who sticks around to be ignored, undervalued, or disrespected. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't owe anyone an explanation for valuing your time, your energy, or your self-worth. And the moment you stop showing up for people who don't appreciate you is the moment they start realizing just how much your presence meant. It's the silence that speaks louder than words. It's the void that forces them to confront what they've lost. But here's the kicker. They won't just miss you. They'll start to crave you. That's the power of this tactic. When you vanish, you become a mystery. Suddenly, they don't have access to your energy anymore, and that's when they start obsessing. They'll wonder where you are, what you're doing, and more importantly, why they didn't see your value until it was too late. You stop being predictable, and that unpredictability drives them insane. Humans are wired to seek what they can't have, and when you become unavailable, their desire for you skyrockets. This is the dark side of Stoicism. Stoicism teaches us to control our emotions, to detach from outcomes, to find strength in silence. But this tactic takes it a step further. By disappearing, you're not just detaching emotionally, you're removing yourself from the equation entirely. You're no longer a variable in their life, and that scares them. They start to feel the weight of your absence, and it messes with their mind. They'll start to question everything. Did you find someone else? Are you happier without them? What did they do wrong? And here's the best part. You don't need to answer those questions. Your silence does all the talking. And at the end of the day, this isn't about them. It's about you. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to settle for anything less than what you deserve. You're not disappearing to manipulate or hurt anyone. You're disappearing because you've realized that you are the one who holds the value. They can't see it when you're always there, but the moment you step away, that's when they start to understand just how irreplaceable you are. So here is my challenge to you. Disappear. Let them miss you. Let them feel the void of your absence. And when they come crawling back, you'll know one thing for sure. You're not the one who needs them. They're the ones who need you. And that's when you'll realize the power of disappearing. It's not about running away. It's about stepping into your own power and letting them experience what life is like without you in it. And folks, it's not just about disappearing. No, there are 7 small steps that you have to take to truly reclaim your power and make them realize what they've lost. So stick with me tight, because things are just getting started. You don't want to miss this. Now, before we dive deeper, go ahead and hit that like button under this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Believe me, you're going to want to stay connected, because what's coming next is going to change everything. But first, it's time for our affirmation. Say it with me. I know my worth. Yes, folks, if they're not seeing your worth, that doesn't mean you're not valuable. It just means they've been blind to it. But you know your worth. So let's affirm it together again. I know my worth. Don't just say it. Own it. And don't stop there. Throw it down in the comments. Let the world see your confidence. Let them find out that you're not waiting around for anyone's approval anymore. More importantly, let you remind yourself that you are worth every bit of attention and respect you deserve. Ready to find out those 7 small steps that will flip the script and make them miss you like never before? Let's go. Step 1. Breathe through the urge. Let's be honest. When the urge to see them or reach out hits, it can feel like a tidal wave crashing into your mind. The desperation to hear their voice, see their face, or get just one response can be overwhelming. It's that tight knot in your chest, the racing thoughts, the whiffs that start consuming you. You're waiting for their text, for any sign that they remember you. And when that moment of silence stretches too long, the temptation to reach out can feel unbearable. But here's the hard truth. You can't give in. Every time you chase, every time you reach out, you're handing them your power on a silver platter. Why would they miss you if you're always the one making the effort? Why would they value you if you're constantly proving you're there, waiting, ready for them to notice? And that's why breathing through the urge is your first and arguably most important step to regaining control. Think about this. What's really happening when you feel that deep urge to reach out? It's not just about them, it's about you. It's your own fear of being forgotten, your insecurity whispering that if you don't make the first move, they'll forget you exist. But Stoicism teaches us that we don't control others. We only control ourselves. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, said Seneca. And that's exactly what's happening when you feel the urge to reach out. It's your imagination creating suffering where there is none. You're building up scenarios in your head, imagining the worst, when in reality, the only thing that's truly happening is your energy slipping away from you. So what do you do when that tidal wave hits? You breathe, you pause, you give yourself the space to regain control. You inhale deeply, hold it, and then exhale slowly. In that breath, you remind yourself that nothing is happening right now except what's in your mind. You are not in danger. You are not losing anything. In fact, by holding back, by staying silent, you are preserving your value. You are allowing the space for them to wonder about you, to feel your absence. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're trying to attract someone new. You've been texting, flirting, making all the moves to show them you're interested, but it feels one-sided. They're distant, inconsistent, hot and cold. You're tempted to keep pushing, to show them how much you care, to prove that you're there for them. But here's where most people go wrong. Every time you chase, you confirm one thing. They don't have to do any work. You've made yourself so available that they don't feel the need to invest in you. You've removed the mystery, and with that, their interest starts to fade. Now think about what happens when you don't reach out, when you don't chase, when you breathe through that urge to message them. Suddenly, you're no longer in their orbit, always ready for their next move. Suddenly, there's space. Space for them to wonder why you've gone quiet. Space for them to start missing the attention you gave so freely. Your silence becomes louder than words, forcing them to question where they stand with you. And that's power. What about when you're in a relationship that's gone cold? Maybe they've become distant, pulling away without explanation. The worst thing you can do is smother them with more attention, trying to fix the problem by being overly available. The more you chase, the more they pull back. You've probably felt this yourself. The harder you push, the more resistance you get. But when you step back, when you breathe through that intense need to fix things, the dynamic shifts. You create space for them to come to you. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength in those moments where the urge to reach out feels unbearable. This is where you find your strength. You breathe and remind yourself that you can't control whether they text you back, whether they suddenly realize what they've lost. You can only control how you react, and by choosing silence, by choosing to stay grounded, you are exercising the ultimate form of self-control. Let's take a look at what's happening on their end while you're breathing through the urge and maintaining your silence. They are left to wonder. They are left in the void that your absence creates. And make no mistake, they will feel it. People notice when the energy they've grown accustomed to suddenly disappears. They start questioning why you've pulled back, whether they've lost your attention, whether you've moved on to something better. It's human nature. We only start to appreciate things when they're no longer easily accessible. In those moments when it's hard to hold back, when every part of you wants to check your phone or send a message, remind yourself of this. If they valued you, they'd be reaching out to you too. If they were truly invested in you, you wouldn't have to be the one chasing. Your silence is giving them the chance to step up to meet you halfway. And if they don't, then that silence is telling you everything you need to know about their true intentions. When the urge feels too difficult to hold, remember that it's not about suppressing your feelings. It's about redirecting them. Take a walk, hit the gym, start a new hobby. Every time you feel the need to reach out, do something for yourself instead. Not only does this distract you, but it reinforces the idea that your life does not revolve around them. Your happiness, your fulfillment, your self-worth, none of these are dependent on their attention. You are whole without them. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one, said Marcus Aurelius. In this context, waste no more time waiting for them to validate you. Be your own validation. When you breathe through the urge, when you hold your ground, you're not just winning some small battle over impulse. You're stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't need to chase anyone. You're becoming someone who understands their own value and acts from a place of strength, not fear. Here's an affirmation to close this out. I control my mind. I control my actions. I choose peace over impulse. Let this affirmation sink in. You are in control, even when the emotions try to tell you otherwise. You can breathe through the urge. You can resist reaching out, and when you do, you reclaim the power they once had over you. And folks, if up to this point you've got any questions, a different perspective, or even your own story to share, please drop it in the comments. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's discuss what the most suitable solution is for you. Your journey, your situation, might be unique, and together we can find the right approach. Stick with me tight, because the next 6 steps are going to take this even deeper. We're just getting started, and believe me, what comes next will completely shift the way you handle your relationships and your self-worth. Let's keep moving forward. Step 2. Redirect your focus. All right, let's get real here. If you're feeling the urge to reach out or make contact, chances are your thoughts are completely consumed by them. They've become the center of your universe. Every waking moment is spent thinking about them, analyzing their every move, trying to decode why they're distant, why they haven't called, or why they're treating you like you're just an option. And here's the brutal truth. They're living rent-free in your mind while you're barely a blip on their radar. Let that sink in. You're burning your energy thinking about someone who isn't even giving you the same in return. They're out there living their life while you're stuck in this mental loop, giving them power over your emotions, your mood, your day-to-day. That needs to stop now. This is where redirect your focus comes into play. It's time to shift that energy back where it belongs, on you. The reason this step is crucial is simple. The more you focus on them, the less you focus on yourself. You're losing valuable time, energy, and mental space that could be spent making yourself stronger, smarter, and more fulfilled. Every second you waste thinking about them is a second you could be using to build the life you want. Why are you giving them the keys to your happiness? Why are you allowing someone who doesn't even prioritize you to occupy the most important space in your life, your mind? Think about it. How often have you found yourself checking your phone, waiting for that notification, that text, that sign that they're thinking about you too? And how often have you been disappointed? The longer you stay stuck in this cycle, the more you degrade your self-worth. You become dependent on their crumbs of attention, hoping that maybe this time they'll see your value. But the harsh reality is, they won't see it until you do. And part of seeing your own worth is recognizing that you deserve better than waiting around for someone to throw you scraps. So how do you redirect your focus? It's not just about distracting yourself or pretending they don't exist. It's about pouring your energy into something that builds you up, something that makes you feel alive, powerful, and confident. Here's the truth. People are attracted to those who are focused on their own growth, their own passions, their own lives. When you shift your focus away from them and back onto yourself, you stop being the one who's waiting. You become the one who's thriving. Imagine this. Instead of spending your time obsessing over why they haven't texted back, you decide to start that new workout routine you've been thinking about. Or maybe you finally pick up that hobby you've always wanted to explore, or dive headfirst into a project that excites you. Every time you choose you over them, you're building yourself up. You're becoming stronger, more interesting, more independent. And here's the kicker. They will notice. When you stop being available, when you stop making them the center of your world, it creates a gap. They'll start to wonder why you're no longer chasing, no longer checking in, no longer at their beck and call. That gap, that's where they start to feel your absence. That's where they start to realize what they've lost. But here's the thing. You're not doing this for them. You're doing this for you. Because let's face it, they aren't the answer to your happiness. They aren't the solution to your fulfillment. You are. Redirecting your focus is about reclaiming your power, your time, your life. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of attention and love, but that it starts with you giving it to yourself first. Epicus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Right now, you're in a situation where someone has made you feel less than you are, where their indifference has made you question your value. But you have the power to change that. You can choose to react differently. You can choose to stop chasing, to stop giving them the satisfaction of knowing they control your emotions. Instead, you take back the reins. You put your focus back on the one thing you can control, yourself. Let me give you a real-life scenario. You're trying to attract someone new, but they've been hot and cold, distant, and non-committal. You've been putting in all the effort, trying to show them how much you care, how much you're worth. But instead of reciprocating, they pull back, making you feel like you're the only one invested. So, what do? Do you keep giving them your energy, hoping they'll eventually see your worth, or do you stop, breathe, and redirect your focus? When you take your energy back, when you stop investing in someone who isn't investing in you, something magical happens. You start to see things more clearly. You realize that you're not at their mercy, that you're not dependent on their validation. You are whole on your own. And as you start to grow, as you start to invest in yourself, you begin to attract the right kind of attention, the kind that doesn't require you to beg, chase, or wait around. Yes, it will feel difficult at first. The urge to reach out will be strong, but every time that feeling arises, remind yourself of this simple truth. You are worth more than being someone's afterthought. You deserve to be the priority in your own life, not a supporting character in someone else's story. When you redirect your focus, you stop living for their attention and start living for your own fulfillment. So, what should you do when it really feels impossible to hold back? When the urge to see them or contact them is overwhelming? Do something productive for yourself. Whether it's going for a run, reading a book, learning a new skill, or simply sitting in silence and reflecting on your goals, you take that energy and invest it back into you. Because that's where your true power lies, in your ability to control where your attention goes. As you redirect your focus, remember this: the more you value yourself, the less you will chase those who do not. The more you pour into your own life, the more you'll see that their presence, or lack thereof, doesn't define you. You define you. So folks, here is the next affirmation you need to keep close. I choose myself. Say it, own it, and write it for once and for all in the comments to let me know you're following along. This is your moment. Choose yourself, stay grounded in your worth, redirect your focus, and watch how everything changes. Not because they start giving you attention, but because you've stopped needing it. Step 3. Build the new you. So folks, after you've mastered breathing through the urge and redirecting your focus, it's time to move to the next level. Building the new you. This is where the real transformation happens. This is the step that takes you from feeling lost and undervalued to becoming someone who radiates confidence, self-worth, and undeniable power, the person they start to regret losing. Let's get one thing straight. The new you isn't about changing for them. It's about evolving into the best version of yourself for you. It's about recognizing that you have the potential to grow, to improve, to become the person you've always wanted to be. And when you start focusing on that growth, when you begin to build the new you, they'll notice. Everyone will. You won't have to chase validation because your energy will be magnetic. The first step in building the new you is self-assessment. Take a hard look at where you are right now. What areas of your life have you been neglecting because you've been too focused on them? Have you let your physical health slip? Is there a skill you've always wanted to learn but never made time for? Have your goals been put on hold because you were too wrapped up in someone else's needs? Now is the time to get honest with yourself. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, said Marcus Aurelius. The obstacles you've been facing, whether it's heartbreak, rejection, or self-doubt, aren't the end of your story. They're the starting point for your transformation. Use them as fuel to build yourself into something greater. Every setback is an opportunity to grow. Now, what does it look like to build the new you? It starts with setting goals that focus entirely on your own growth. Think about what areas of your life you want to improve: your physical health, your career, your hobbies, your mental clarity. Make a list of the things you want to achieve, but do it with the mindset that this is for you and no one else. These aren't superficial changes meant to impress someone else. They are deep, lasting transformations that align with your true self. For example, maybe you've always wanted to start a new fitness routine, but kept putting it off because you were too caught up in relationship drama. Or maybe there's a creative project you've been meaning to start, like writing, painting, or learning a new language. Now is the time to do it. Invest in yourself. Pour your energy into becoming the person you've always wanted to be, and watch as everything around you starts to shift. Here's a key point. Don't announce your changes. Let your transformation speak for itself. In today's world of oversharing, there's power in silence. People will notice the new you, not because you told them, but because your growth is undeniable. The people who took you for granted will start to wonder what's changed. Why are you suddenly glowing with confidence? Why aren't you seeking their attention? The answer is simple. You've stopped seeking validation from them because you've found it in yourself. Building the new you is also about changing your mindset. You're no longer waiting for someone else to recognize your worth. You're no longer hoping that your absence will make them miss you. Instead, you're focusing on becoming someone so strong, so centered, that their opinion no longer affects your self-worth. The new you doesn't need validation from anyone outside yourself. And when they do come crawling back, and trust me, they will, you won't be the same person they left behind. You'll have evolved into someone who knows their value, someone who doesn't settle for crumbs of attention or respect. The new you won't need them anymore, because by this point, you've created a life so full and rich that anyone who doesn't add to it simply isn't necessary. Think of it like this. When you plant a seed, it doesn't sprout overnight. It takes time, nurturing, and patience. But once it starts growing, it becomes something strong and undeniable. That's what you're doing right now. You're planting the seeds of the new you, and in time, you'll look back and realize that this transformation was the best thing that ever happened to you. So folks, it's time for the closing affirmation of this step. I am committed to my growth. Say it out loud, feel it, and let it sink in. You're no longer waiting for someone else to validate your worth. You're taking control, investing in yourself, and becoming the best version of who you are meant to be. Every step forward, every small action you take, is a powerful move toward your own evolution. Keep this affirmation close, because your growth is the foundation of everything you're building. I am committed to my growth. Own it, live it, and let it guide you. Step 4. Don't fall for traps. Now that you've been focusing on yourself, redirecting your energy, and building the new you, here's where things can get tricky. The traps you've pulled back from, you've disappeared, and you've started to reclaim your power. But don't be surprised if they start showing signs of reeling you back in. Maybe it's a random "hey" text, a like on your social media post, or an unexpected message out of the blue. These small gestures are traps designed to pull you back into their orbit, and this is where you need to be strongest. Do not fall for these traps. They've gotten used to your attention, your presence, and the comfort of knowing you're always there. When you vanish, it shakes their sense of control. So what do? They send a breadcrumb, a small hint that they're still thinking of you, just enough to make you question everything. But remember, these are nothing more than attempts to regain the upper hand. They're trying to pull you back in without putting in the effort to truly show up for you. Here's the harsh reality. If they genuinely valued you, they wouldn't be sending vague signals or testing the waters with half-hearted gestures. They'd make a real move, a meaningful effort. But these traps are meant to keep you hooked without ever giving you the respect, attention, or commitment you deserve. Let's break this down. What does it look like when they're setting a trap? It might be a casual text, a seemingly innocent comment on your post, or a random message that says, "Hey, how have you been?" It's vague, right? Just enough to get your hopes up, just enough to make you think they've had a change of heart. But don't be fooled. If they truly realized your worth, they wouldn't be breadcrumbing you. They'd be coming back with genuine intention, ready to show up and meet you where you are. In these moments, when they're trying to reel you back in with little crumbs of attention, you must stay focused. Don't engage. Don't fall back into the trap of thinking this time will be different. If they're not showing real effort, these breadcrumbs are a form of control. They want to keep you hanging on just enough to feed their ego, but not enough to give you the relationship or respect you deserve. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In this context, it means you cannot control whether they reach out with these small traps, but you can control how you respond. And the best response? No response at all. By not reacting to their attempts to draw you back in, you reinforce your power. You remind yourself and them that you are no longer playing their game. You've built a stronger version of yourself, and you're not willing to settle for breadcrumbs anymore. So folks, let's move toward the next affirmation. I deserve more than crumbs. Say it, feel it, and let it be your truth. You are worthy of more than half-hearted gestures, vague texts, or breadcrumbs of attention. You've come too far to settle for anything less than what you truly deserve: real effort, real commitment, and real respect. Every time you're tempted to fall for their traps, remind yourself that you are building a stronger, more powerful version of yourself. Hold on to this affirmation because you are no longer accepting less. I deserve more than crumbs. Own it, live it, and let it guide your decisions moving forward. Step 5. Your life, your rules. By now, you've pulled back, you've started to grow, and you've learned to avoid the traps they set to pull you back in. Now it's time to step fully into your power with this simple truth: your life, your rules. You're no longer living by anyone else's expectations, waiting on their validation, or adjusting your life to fit their narrative. From this point forward, you decide how you want to live, what your priorities are, and who gets access to your time and energy. When you stop living for others and start living for yourself, everything changes. You no longer need to explain yourself, justify your decisions, or seek approval. This is your life, and you're the one in control. You set the boundaries. You decide who gets to stay in your world and who doesn't. No one else holds the pen to your story. You do. You've already begun to reclaim your power by disappearing and redirecting your focus. Now it's time to fully embrace that power. Whether it's choosing the projects you want to work on, deciding who you spend your time with, or setting clear boundaries for yourself, remember, this is your life. No more bending over backward to please others. No more waiting for someone to choose you. So folks, let's move toward the next affirmation. I live by my rules. Say it, own it, and feel the power behind it. You are no longer living to meet someone else's expectations or waiting for their approval. From this moment forward, you make the rules for your own life. You decide how you spend your time, who deserves your energy, and where your priorities lie. You are in control, and no one else gets to dictate your choices. Hold on to this affirmation as you take charge of your life with confidence and clarity. I live by my rules. Step 6. Challenge yourself. Now that you've set the rules for your life, it's time to take things to the next level. Challenge yourself. Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones, and if you want to become the best version of yourself, you need to push beyond what's easy. Whether it's physically, mentally, or emotionally, challenging yourself is how you break through old limits and step into a new reality. Think about it. How often have you stayed in your comfort zone because it felt safe? You've been afraid of taking risks, trying new things, or stepping into the unknown because it's easier to stay where you are. But that's exactly what's been holding you back. The only way to grow, to evolve, and to become someone they truly regret losing is by continuously pushing yourself to improve. Maybe it's setting new fitness goals, learning a skill you've always wanted to master, or simply doing something every day that scares you. Each challenge you face strengthens you, builds your confidence, and takes you further away from the person who once settled for less. Remember, the more you challenge yourself, the less dependent you become on others for validation. You'll realize that the only approval you need is your own. So folks, let's move toward the next affirmation. I rise to every challenge. Say it, own it, and live by it. Every challenge you take on pushes you closer to the person you're meant to be. You're capable of more than you know, and the only limits that exist are the ones you set. So step up and take control. I rise to every challenge. Step 7. Decide from a place of strength. When they crawl back, here's the moment you've been building toward. They will crawl back. They'll feel the loss, the absence of your attention, and the undeniable shift in power. But when they do, you must remember, you decide from a place of strength. Now you're no longer the person who was chasing or waiting for their validation. You've grown, You've evolved, and it's important to recognize that when they return, the ball is in your court. When they reach out, don't rush to respond. Don't fall into old patterns of immediately giving them your attention. Instead, evaluate the situation. Are they offering something new, something meaningful, or are they trying to regain control with the same old tactics? This is where your strength comes in. You now have the power to choose if they're worth your time, if they deserve a place in the new life you've built. Remember, just because they're crawling back doesn't mean you need to let them in. You're stronger now, more self-aware, and fully capable of deciding what's best for you. So folks, let's move toward the final affirmation. I decide from strength. Say it with conviction, because now the choice is in your hands. You are the one who holds the power, and you get to decide who stays in your life. Choose wisely, and always prioritize your own worth. I decide from strength. Own it, live it, and let it guide you in every decision. So folks, if this video resonated with you, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs this message. Together, we can empower each other to take control of our lives and reclaim our worth. Now that you've learned the 7 steps, remember, this journey is about you. You've learned to breathe through the urge, redirect your focus, build the new you, avoid traps, set your own rules, challenge yourself, and ultimately decide from a place of strength. These aren't just steps. They're tools that will empower you to grow, evolve, and live life on your terms. You're no longer waiting for validation from anyone else. You've taken control of your narrative, and now it's time to fully own it. So go out there, live by your own rules, and embrace the powerful person you've become. Stay strong, stay focused, fed, and never forget. You hold the power now. Until next time, stay empowered.